joined the Marine Corps at 19. It was at the start of 2012. I had done a year and a half of community college and just had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. I had no idea what path to take, nothing that really grabbed my interest. It was where I was like, okay, I can major in that eventually someday. So I was in the military, in the Marine Corps for 5 years. I was an administrative specialist, where I learned I don't want a desk job for the rest of my life. So after the military, I knew I wanted to go to college. I'm first generation, now I am a first generation college graduate. So I knew I was gonna use my GI Bill to go to college. That was really important for me. It was something I wanted since I was a little kid, was to get a degree. And I thought it was gonna be in nursing. So I got out of the military, I thought, okay, I'm gonna be in nursing. And I grew up in Western Washington, so not a lot of ag. I grew up in like Woodinville, where now there's wineries, but before there was only Chateau Ste. Michelle, and that was it. So I was almost done with all of my nursing prerequisites, and I was in a microbiology class, and the professor loved what he was doing, and I didn't love what I was doing. And I thought to myself, I said, I want that. I want to love what I'm doing. So I went home and dropped the microbiology class and Googled plant science degrees in Washington State. And I saw an ad, or like one of the first links to click was for the viticulture and enology program at WSU. And I remembered a kid from the school bus in high school. He was like 15 and he knew he was gonna get a degree in viticulture and enology at WSU. And it just like jogged a little memory, and I was like, oh yeah, that's an actual thing. I like dropped that class on July 7th. I toured the campus July 13th, and then classes started August 16th or something that year. So I took a chance, but it all felt right. Like I just knew it was like a total like gut instinct, and I just went for it. And now it was the best decision I've made. That first semester, most of the classes were just like prerequisites and everything. This was my first wine and viticulture class, and I immediately gravitated towards the viticulture side of things, and then it just kind of like all clicked for me. When I thought of grad school, before I was in grad school, I thought, okay, it's gonna be like laboratories, books, and just a lot of like lab coats and goggles, and it is so different than that. And I am outside so much, which is great. I love it. I love being outside, but we're outside and we are sweating so much, or we're freezing cold. I weed whack a lot, like, which I didn't think would be part of grad school, but I weed whack a lot to manage weeds in some of my research plots. I rototill, and then in addition to that, like, we have to learn how to upkeep my weed whacker and my rototiller. So there's just some things that you're like, oh, I didn't see this as being part of grad school, and it's a huge part of grad school. Yeah, I do I stare through a microscope for microscopic worms. Also not something when you're like 7 and you have like a princess dress that you're running around in, that you're like, someday I'm gonna go look through a whole bunch of soil and find these microscopic worms and then look at them through a microscope until I get motion sick. Like, so there are all these different aspects that are so different from that traditional view of what grad school is. And there are those days of writing, or those days where you have goggles and a lab coat on or something, but the majority of the time is outside, working really hard, sweating, freezing. Yeah, there's been lots of blood, sweat, and tears, way more blood, sweat, and tears than I thought would go into it. I love working in viticulture and I love doing that, but then I get to say, okay, how can I make it a little bit better? Or for me, it's about sustainability, and I'm like, how can I reduce a little bit more chemical input? And that is just my life in general. Like, I care about the environment and sustainability as a whole. So for me, it's learning these things and also learning how to talk about them, how to research these things, how to have some kind of substance behind ideas and things that I say. So that way I can apply them to a real life scenario and be confident in the decisions I'm making. I don't see myself doing anything other than vineyard management after grad school. That's what I wanted for a long time, but now I can look at it with a slightly different lens and hopefully farm better. And It also opens the doors for education through extension, because in addition to what I'm learning and what I want to do, we have opportunities like field days, like boot camps, and all these things where I get to say, okay, these are the things we're excited about. These are the ways that growers can improve or slightly change things. And that's really exciting for me, because I have no background in this, but now I'm able to come out here and get to like share a little bit of this, and that's really exciting for me.